The Karen flowers were never just flowers, they were a middle finger to anyone who dared breathe free. By dawn, their petals were smeared across a Coast Guard boat like a crime scene, and Seacrest Cove was ready to burn. The Karen flower, a garish hybrid of neon pink and yellow, wasn't native to this sleepy coastal town. It was the brainchild of the Seacrest Homeowners Association, a self-appointed council of busybodies who decided the local flora lacked prestige. They'd forced every homeowner to plant the damn things, claiming they symbolized community pride. Most folks complied, grumbling, because the HOA wielded fines like a guillotine. But pride? That was a lie. The flowers were a power trip, a way to mark territory, and everyone knew it. Lila Harper, 24, wasn't one to kneel. A marine biology dropout with a chip on her shoulder, she'd returned to Seacrest after her dad's fishing boat sank in a storm, leaving her with debts and a burning hatred for authority. The HOA's flower mandate was the last straw. "They're invasive," she'd shouted at a town meeting, her voice cracking. "They choke out native plants, poison the soil." The HOA president, Margaret Voss, a woman with a smile sharp enough to gut fish, had dismissed her with a wave. "Dear, they're just flowers. Don't be dramatic." The room had laughed, but Lila's fists stayed clenched. Across town, Captain Tom Rourke, a grizzled Coast Guard veteran, was the kind of man who'd rather drown than bow to nonsense. His boat, the Salty Dawn, was his life. 30 years of rescues, storms, and sleepless nights etched into its hull. When the HOA tried to slap a fine on him for refusing their flowers, he'd told them exactly where to shove their petals. "I save lives," he'd growled. "You plant weeds." The HOA didn't dare push further, not until the vandalism. It started with whispers. A week ago, someone had uprooted Karen flowers from Margaret's pristine lawn. Then more gardens were hit. Petals were found scattered in the streets, stuffed in mailboxes, even floating in the harbor. The HOA called it an attack on our values. Lila, with her loud mouth and history of rebellion, was the obvious suspect. She didn't help her case, smirking when confronted at the general store. "Maybe the flowers had it coming," she'd said, tossing her braid. The town split, half saw her as a hero, half as a menace. Then came the night of the boat. At 3 a.m., under a moonless sky, the Salty Dawn was defaced. Karen flower petals, mixed with red paint, were smeared across its side in ugly streaks. The words HOA rules were scrawled in dripping letters. Rourke found it at dawn, his hands shaking as he touched the hull. "This ain't just vandalism," he muttered to his crew. "It's war." By noon, Seacrest Cove was a powder keg. The HOA called an emergency meeting at the community center, a squat building overlooking the docks. Margaret stood at the podium, her pearls gleaming, her voice icy. "This is anarchy," she declared, pointing at Lila, who slouched in the back row. "She's poisoned our community with her defiance." The crowd roared, some in agreement, others in protest. Lila stood, eyes blazing. "You're the poison, Margaret. You and your fake flowers, your fake rules, your fake power." A bottle sailed through the air, missing Lila by inches. Chaos erupted. Rourke stormed in, his Coast Guard uniform rumpled, a wrench in his hand. "Who did it?" he bellowed, his voice silencing the room. He didn't wait for answers, marching toward Lila. "You hate the HOA. You hate rules. Was it you?" Lila didn't flinch. "I'd rather sink your boat than paint it," she spat. "Check my alibi. I was at the bar all night." Murmurs rippled. Witnesses confirmed it. Rourke's jaw tightened, but he stepped back. The truth was uglier. Ethan, a quiet 17-year-old who mowed lawns for the HOA, had been invisible to Seacrest. His mom, a single parent, was drowning in HOA fines for her unkempt yard. Ethan had overheard Margaret mocking her at a meeting. If she can't afford to live here, she should leave. Humiliated, Ethan snapped. He'd collected discarded Karen petals, mixed them with paint stolen from the docks, and targeted the Salty Dawn not because of Rourke, but because it was the town's pride, a symbol the HOA couldn't touch. He wanted to hit them where it hurt. For days, the town tore itself apart. Lila organized protests, chaining herself to a bulldozer when the HOA tried to clear non-compliant gardens. Rourke patrolled the docks, his wrench now a symbol of his rage, scaring off anyone who lingered too long. Margaret doubled down, sending HOA enforcers to inspect every yard, fining anyone who dared resist. Fights broke out fists, not just words. A fisherman punched an HOA board member. A teenager was caught spray painting freedom on the community center. The Karen flowers, once a petty annoyance, had become a battle line. Ethan's guilt gnawed at him. He hadn't meant to spark a war. Late one night, he slipped to the docks, intending to confess to Rourke. But the captain was there, scrubbing the Salty Dawn alone, his hands raw from hours of work. Ethan froze, watching the old man's shoulders slump, not with anger but with grief. "This boat's all I got," Rourke muttered to no one. Ethan's nerve broke. He ran. The breaking point came at the next town meeting. Lila, bruised from a scuffle with HOA enforcers, stood on a chair. "This isn't about flowers anymore," she shouted. "It's about control. They're tearing us apart." Rourke, in the front row, nodded grimly. Even Margaret looked shaken, her usual smirk gone. Then Ethan stepped forward, his voice barely a whisper. "It was me." The room went silent. Ethan spilled everything, his mom's struggles, Margaret's cruelty, his stupid, desperate act. He expected handcuffs, maybe a beating. Instead, Rourke knelt beside him. "You hurt my boat, kid," he said, voice low. "But I get it. I've been angry too." Margaret tried to interrupt, demanding punishment, but the crowd turned on her. "Enough!" a fisherman yelled. "You caused this." Others joined in, their voices a tidal wave. Margaret fled, her pearls clicking as she ran. The aftermath was bitter. The HOA was dissolved, its rules scrapped. The Karen flowers were ripped out, replaced with native plants Lila helped choose. But the Salty Dawn was never the same. Faint paint stains lingered, a scar Rourke refused to cover. Ethan's mom got help from neighbors, but Ethan left town, too ashamed to stay. Lila kept fighting, but her fire dimmed, worn out by the cost. Rourke retired, his boat docked for good. Seacrest Cove healed, slowly, but the wounds ran deep. Trust was harder to come by. The Karen flowers were gone, but their roots, anger, pride, division still lingered in the soil. What's right in a town split by loyalty and betrayal? Share your thoughts on where justice lies when a community turns on itself.